Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing good. In the previous video, we saw how we can create a field generation prompt template using record merge fields and flow merge fields. And in this video, we will see how we can ground our field generation prompt template with Apex merge fields. So let's get started. Apex merge fields are a way to pull data into your prompt templates using Apex classes. Essentially, they allow you to execute programmatic logic such as making SQL queries or interacting with external APIs directly within a template. And this is also super useful for field generation where you want to dynamically populate certain fields based on your Salesforce data. Now let's see today's use case that we are going to implement. So I am taking the same use case that we saw in the previous video where the use case says you are a support representative and you want to provide up to the minute summaries of open customer cases for a given customer to your company's sales team before they make the customer calls. And this time we are not using the flow merge fields to implement this. Instead, you decided to create a field generation prompt template that integrates an Apex class to obtain the case data for an LLM to summarize. And to implement this, there are few steps that we are going to see. The first one is we have to create an Apex class that gets a list of all the open customer cases. Next, we will create a customs field to store the open case summary. Then we'll create a field generation prompt template that invokes the Apex, and finally we will assign that prompt template to our custom field. Now let's get started with the Apex class, but before that let's see some prerequisites that we need to keep in mind while creating our Apex class. So the first is the Apex class must contain one method annotated with invocable method. So this tells Salesforce that the method is invocable from places like prompt template. Then your invocable method must also need to define the capability type that matches the prompt template type. For example, for a field generation prompt template, the annotation is like this. And similarly for other prompt template types, the annotation is different. So this table lists down all the capability type for each prompt template type. Now let's see how the input parameter should look like. The method's input parameter must have a type list of request, and the request class defines an invocable variable member for each input defined by the prompt template type, and all the inputs are passed from the prompt template into the invocable method. And for each capability type, we have to define a specific invocable variable member in the request class. For example, for field generation capability type, you have to define a related entity member variable in the request. Just like we can see here. It is a request class, and inside this we are creating an invocable variable related entity, and the type is account because we are working with account. If we are working with any other object, you have to change this data type with your specific input. Now let's see how the method output looks like. The method output has a type list of response, and now the response is again a class that contains a single string member named prompt that's also annotated with invocable variable. So this is how our response class looks like, and it contains an invocable variable named as prompt, and the data type is a string. So this prompt variable will actually store our response text that will be going to pass as an output from our Apex class to our prompt template. Now that we know all the prerequisites of our Apex class, let's see everything in action. First, log into your Salesforce org, and you have to go to your developer console for creating the Apex class. I have already created the Apex class, so let's go through this class once. So this is my class open cases prompt, in which I have created one invocable method, get cases prompt. We can see it is annotated with the annotation invocable method, and also we have defined the capability type as prompt template field completion, because we are working with the field generation prompt template. And as an input parameter, we are passing the list of request, and below we have the request class defined here, which contains the invocable variable, and the name is related entity with the type as account, because we are working with the account object. And similarly, we have the response class over here, which contains the invocable variable of the data type string, and the name is prompt, and it will contain the output that will be passing from our Apex class to our prompt template. Now let's see our invocable method. So in this method, we are getting the list of requests from our prompt template, but this list of requests will actually contain the account record that will be passing from our prompt template. So it will always have only one entry. That's why we are checking here. If the request size is not equal to 1, we are throwing an exception that the request list must contain only one entry. And if the request size is 1, then we are getting the 0th index of the request and assigning the related entity to a account variable A. Then we have created another variable search account ID that will store the account ID, and then we are creating a SQL query for getting the list of all the open cases. Next, we are searching if the case is empty, then we are adding the response data that there are no open cases. So this response data is a string variable, and we are checking in this if condition that if this query is returning empty result, then the response data is there are no open cases. But if there are any open cases, then we are iterating on each cases and appending the response data with each case subject and description. So for each cases, the subject and description will get appended in this response data. So finally, after this for loop, this response data will contain the subject and description for all the cases available for this particular account. Next, we are creating an instance of this response and assigning the response prompt variable with the response data. And finally, we are adding the response to our variable list of response and returning the list of response from this invocable method. So this way we are getting the account details from our prompt template, and we are passing it as an input parameter to this invocable method. Next, we are querying all the open cases for that account, and we are checking if there are any open cases existing. Then we are appending all the case details to our response data, and finally we are returning the response data as a list of response back to our prompt template. Now that our Apex class is done, let's see how we can use it in our field generation prompt template. For that, go to your setup, search for prompt builder. Click on this new prompt template button, and in the prompt template type, select field generation, and in the prompt template name, give any name to your template, and in the object name, we have to select the account object, and in the object field I am selecting my custom field that I have already created, open case summary, and you can click on next. Right now I am not clicking on next because I have already created a prompt template that we created in the previous video where we used the flows. So this is my prompt instructions. So as an instruction, I have added that you are a support representative and you need to create a short summary of all the open cases for account, and here I am using the record merge fields and added the account ID. And then I am writing, when I ask you to summarize the open cases, you must strictly follow my instructions, and in the instructions I have given that I need to get the response in a clear, concise, straightforward language with no longer than 500 characters. And for writing this summary, use the following informations. Now we have to replace this flow with the Apex class that we have created, and for that go to this resources and you will see Apex option here. Click on this option and inside that you will see your Apex class like this. So this is our Apex class, so I am simply selecting this and we are done. Now that we are done with the instructions, let's preview our prompt template. So I'm selecting any random account record here and clicking on this preview. Now we can see in the resolution that the Apex class is replaced with all the case details. So as an output from the Apex class, we are getting all the open cases for this account. This way we can use Apex class to get the data from our CRM, and as a response we are getting the summary of all the open cases for this account. So let's activate this template and go back to our lightning record page to assign this prompt template to our custom field. And for that, click on edit page and make sure your lightning record page is upgraded to dynamic forms, and once it is upgraded, simply select your custom field and in the right hand side you will see the Einstein generative AI option, and in the prompt template you can select your prompt template and simply click on save. Now once your changes are saved, go back to your lightning record and you will see this Einstein AI icon over here. Click on this icon and the Einstein pop-up will be displayed, and if you again click on this icon, it will give you the summary of all the open cases for your account. Here we can see that the LLM has responded with the open case summary. Now we can simply click on this use button and it will save our custom field. So this way we can see with just a bit of Apex we can retrieve data, filter it programmatically and customize our Salesforce templates, and how it can be super powerful feature that opens up a lot of possibilities for our customization. So that's all for this video. If you have any queries or feedbacks or questions, please feel free to post in the comment section, and thanks for watching.